Good afternoon. And first thing, a big thank you to all the subscribers. I had 14 yesterday or the day before, and I've got 30 now. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. You don't have to love me or, know everything about my case. But it's a pretty important case. I am facing the rest of my life in prison. The charges actually hold an unlimited, sentence. So it could be 200 years or whatever. So it's a big deal, and it involves who we are as a country and who we want to be and what we stand for, where we've come from. All of those things, and you can have an opinion as long as it's not too aggressive. I will always listen to it. I'll get some haters, and I'll deal with them tomorrow. Today I'm going to deal with some good news, just to show that I'm not always negative about defence. There was, and this shows the progress, there was something in the on Twitter and other posts in social media where it looked like the Defence Force helicopter in Namadgi National Park in Canberra started a fire, a landing light or something in the dry ground. Now, what was really good about this is Defence issued a statement and said, yeah, look, it looks like that that's fact, we did it, and we're sorry about that. Now, that's all I've ever wanted them to do. And in the past, what made me so angry is they weren't able to do that. They would always lie about something. First thing was the public affairs people were the first person to put out a statement, and they didn't give a shit about whether something was true. They would just say whatever sounded good. And they would, their knee-jerk reaction, would be to make something up. The public affairs in my day would have blamed the Rural Fire Service for starting the fire. That's the sort of thing that used to make me angry. So well done, Defence, on telling the truth, and just owning it. These things happen. They didn't even, what I liked about it, they didn't even sort of make a big deal and say, look, we're there to help people. They need to get over it. They just left it at, it's an unfortunate thing. Hopefully they're not going to have some kind of witch hunt on the pilot or the crew, and because the reality of life is that these things happen, and we need to be able to take it on the chin. As I said, in my day, and the sort of things I complained about, no one could ever do that. No one could deliver hard news and say this is what happened. For example, that was a case where we shot a child in 2013, September 2013, 25th, I think, by mistake. And he was clearly shot by mistake. He was sitting on a roof with his father. It was a legitimate operation. The father sat up suddenly. The shooter thought, with reason, that he was a threat, shot the father, and the bullet went through the child. Now, that's what we call civilian casualty. It's not a war crime. It's a mistake. There was nothing to suggest that that's not what happened. The 7:30 report beat this up as a war crime. That was one of the things in the Afghan files. It's been investigated by Burton again, even though no new evidence can come out of that. The chances that you're proving that the shooter purposely shot this small boy, there was nothing to suggest that. He was trying to shoot the father, and he was trying to shoot the father because he thought he was a threat, because he suddenly popped up on top of a building during an operation to capture a terrorist. It's a shame, but it's not a crime. And Defence tried to treat it as a crime with their own bloody people, and the 7:30 report bought it. So that's the sort of thing which I can't stand. And they weren't doing it for any other reason but to try to make the minister look good and themselves look good. The same thing happened when the soldier cut off Taliban member's hand. It wasn't actually illegal, and why that might be unpalatable to people in Australia, The police force actually do that themselves. I mean, if they find a decomposed body, in a car in the bottom of the lake, and they can't get it out, they will do something like that, cut off the hand in order to identify the fingerprints. It's not a crime. It wasn't a crime then. The guy was dead, obviously, had a few big holes in him because he'd been shot. They did it in order to identify whether this person was a bomb maker. And if he was the bomb maker they were looking for, they wouldn't have had to go back and do another operation. They did it to save Australian lives. Now, the Chief of the Defence Force at the time should have fronted the media and told them that. But of course they didn't. They had a huge witch hunt. They ruined this guy's life. They put him on trial for like 4 years. Of course, there was no charge. I told them that because I was the lawyer on the spot, well, one of them, Special Forces at the time, and said, this is a witch hunt. But of course they didn't believe me. What would I know? And then of course he's not eventually charged because there isn't a crime. 4 years later, no one apologises to me. No one apologises to him as far as I know. That's the sort of bullshit which I was against. And again, it was all to do with the minister and no one stood up for him. So if you're wondering why you've been called as a witness, it's possibly because you didn't stand up to the minister, or you are the minister. So there is good news in the Defence Force. Maybe things have changed for the better. And I'm really happy to hear that. Well done on the people that put out the press statement. Right? And I hear now they're trying to stop the minister putting out defence-related press statements. It's not their business to do that. And people need to say no, minister. Apparently they're doing it. No, Minister, the Defence Force is not your plaything to win the next election. It's actually there to defend Australia. And they're trying to put me in jail for 30 years for having those terribly revolutionary thoughts. Imagine.